Hello, reading group. We are on Module 8, Week 2, and we have two stories this week, and they're very similar to each other. I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to show you some things that I want you to focus on while you are reading this week. So you're going to read, you're going to read Jack and the Beanstalk, and many of you have probably read this story or heard this story, and it is a fairy tale. And fairy tales are old stories that have made up characters and events that could not happen. A few things that I want you to know are that fairy tales have a beginning, middle, and ending of the story. And remember when we talked about beginning, middle, and end, we talked about how in the beginning of a story, we meet the characters, we know the setting of the story. In the middle of the story, the characters face a problem. So they have a problem or a conflict. And then at the end of the story, they solve that problem, they solve that conflict, they have a resolution, okay? So I want you to focus on those beginning, middle, and ending parts of the story. Characters in fairy tales are not found in real life. There's always a happy ending to a fairy tale, and storytelling phrases like once upon a time are in fairy tales, or they lived happily ever after. So those are some key things in fairy tales. What you're going to have to do when you guys get to the end of the story, when you answer the questions on page 153 of Jack and the Beanstalk, you're going to have, one question is you're going to have to retell the story. And you're going to retell the story in your own words, not words from the story. They're in your own words to tell what happens in the beginning, middle, and end of the story. So I want to show that anchor chart for retelling. So again, when we retell the story, you describe what happened in the story in order. Okay, so in that chronological order, what happened first, so what happened first in the beginning, and then we go to what happened next or then. And that's in the middle of the story. Remember, the beginning of the story is where we meet the characters. Middle of the story, those characters are facing a problem, and then we get to the last, or finally the end of the story, and they have solved that problem that happened in the middle. So when you retell for that question number 1, you need to say, first, this happened. Then, what was their problem that they faced? And last, how did they solve that problem? That is retelling the story and making sure that you have complete sentences. So here's some tips that they have for retelling a story is use your own words, use details from the story. So you want to use details and things that happen in the story, but you want to say those things in your own words. And then, of course, use the words and the pictures to help you out. So a big thing we're focusing on is how we can retell the story, retell what happened in our own words. So that's one big thing that you're going to that you are going to focus on this week. Okay, perfect. Okay, so retelling the story in your own words, what happened first, what happened next, what happened last. Okay, that is one big thing that we're going to focus on. I'm going to post another video for the second story, because remember there's 2 stories, and I will post another video for that story because you'll have some different key things to focus on in that story. So that is a little bit about this week and what is going on. So again, 2 stories because we're super second graders. And again, I'll have another video for the other story. Thanks, guys.